Save the city or catch your greatest enemy. You can't do both.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
You can't do both, I said.
No, I mean the other thing.
Save the city or catch your greatest enemy.
You think you're my greatest enemy?
Yes! You're obsessed with me!
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are! Who else drives?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. We've got some Batman news for you today. James Tynion put out his Empire of the Tiny Onion newsletter. Lots of information normally to scour in there about all of his titles. If you're not checking it out, I highly suggest it. There's going to be a link in the video description. And here to talk with me about his Batman-specific information is my good friend, comic book writer, comic book editor, the man behind Beckstar, Joe Corallo. How you doing?
I'm all right, Wes. How are you?
I'm doing great. I like the color of the shirt. It feels like, are you in your Beckstar moment? That's kind of looks like the cover.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think I look good in purple. So
that's what it is.
What I do. Yeah.
So there's some interesting stuff to mine here. The first thing we got to talk about is the sales of, I guess, of Batman 208, the debut, at least of Miracle Molly on the Mighty Molly. That's a wrestler. Miracle Molly on the cover of the Batman issue, kind of like a cyberpunk techno kind of character. Really one of the more original things that he's done so far, and apparently it drew a lot of eyes. According to James Tynion, shipped 200,000 copies. That's an enormous win for an ongoing title.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that number for multiple reasons. I'm not saying that James is being honest. He has no reason to not be honest about that. He clearly got them from somewhere. When Diamond or other people, they report numbers, I guess it would be Lunar in this instance. We have been hearing that the marquee titles are selling more, and some of the lower titles are falling off a bit. But there are probably a lot of store exclusives for this one. So a lot of times, at least when like Comic-Con used to report these numbers, when there were store exclusives, they weren't necessarily counted. So we could potentially get numbers from Lunar that are, tens of thousands lower that aren't counting, if, a bunch of big stores like Midtown, Third Eye, Graham Crackers, there's a few online exclusive retailers that do variant covers and things like that. That could be what bridges the gap there and makes those numbers make sense.
Well, also, we know when Tynion first came on the line, he was introducing a lot of new characters, most well-known being Punchline. And her debut, which was in that, what is the...
It was during Joker War, right? Or
no,
right
no,
before...
it was the prelude to Dark Knight's Death Metal from Scott Snyder, that series that they were doing. And then like she debuted there, then she also debuted in Batman, and then finally the character arrived. And they didn't announce the debut of the character, like the first appearances. And it made the comic be very high in demand. Prices spiked. It was really hard to get a copy. And I think they learned from that. If you announce ahead of time that you got a cool character, you show to the design, tell people exactly when they're going to show up, that you might be able to spike the sales. So I think that probably has a little bit to do with that as well.
Yeah, and if you're looking at sort of the direction that things are going in, Punchline sort of got debuted and then immediately got put into like her own kind of story and backups and stuff like that. So you're not really dealing with Punchline as much in the main books. So even though she was created, you still kind of need this new character if you want to keep going with some of this energy that James has been bringing. So it makes sense. To me, it still feels like too soon. Like, we already have, Punchline, Ghostmaker, a bunch of other characters. But while I'm saying that, I also get that we're trying to get to future state and kind of that like cyberpunk feel that Gotham was getting. And I think this kind of brings that.
Well, he's rebounded the title well. We know that the sales at the end of Tom King were trending downward, and he's spiked them up with whatever gimmicks he's used. Obviously, you have an event or a crossover event called Joker War that's going to bring in people's eyeballs. They've enjoyed it. Jorge Jimenez's art, it's probably the best art on an ongoing series, in comic books, in my opinion, right now. That's certainly helped. And he's adding a lot of new characters, whether it be it's a lot of villains to the title. So it's certainly piqued interest. And congratulations to James Tynion. He knows what the audience wants. He's giving it to them, and they're coming in and buying it.
Yeah, and he's doing this very smart. This is probably one of the best newsletters I've seen too that he puts out. I can't imagine a writer in comics right now, other than very few, who wouldn't rather just trade places with James in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, you look over at what is it? Something is Killing the Children. The pre-orders for the next chapter, which is going to be the origins of the main protagonist. The orders are already over 150,000. It's like it's issue number 16 into the run. It's the highest selling comic book. That's trending upwards.
Yeah.
Now, will it be able to maintain that? Probably not, but that's a pretty good place to start, especially for a Boom Studios comic book.
Oh yeah. Boom has been having their own renaissance with writers like James and Kieran Gillen and Al Ewing. But yeah, James is dominating the field, including Razor Blades, which is just like a horror anthology off to the side that he's co-editing with I believe Steve Fox, who I think is his editor on Department of Truth. So, which again, like we're talking about these, and Department of Truth is also one of the solid sellers at Image, and Razor Blades, if you haven't checked it out, is just this horror anthology series. He gets a bunch of people he knows, like Becky Cloonan, Scott Snyder, some other heavy hitters. I think Zach Thompson has also been in it, and they just have fun doing horror stuff. It's he makes the time to do that on top of all of these other books. It's
he's got the newsletter, he's got all the books, his sales are really trending upwards. He's the hottest guy really in comics. Yeah, we talk about Donny Cates superstar over at Marvel, but really what James Tynion's doing at DC, Boom, Image, like he's everywhere. He's dominating right now.
Yeah. Donnie, where's your horror anthology that you do off to the side just because you're not already doing enough?
Yeah, I know he's got a podcast, but where's your newsletter? Come on.
Yeah, where's your newsletter? Where's your horror anthology? Come on, get with it.
Time to step your game up. So if you've been reading James Tynion's work really kind of since he started arriving at DC Comics, he has a tremendous amount of respect and love, adoration, I would even say, for Tim Drake character. Mm-hmm. You go and read his Detective Comics run in DC Rebirth. It's essentially like a love letter to Tim Drake. He was doing everything in his power to kind of work within the Bat family, but elevate Tim Drake and kind of get that character's position in the DC universe straight in moving forward as Red Robin. Took some detours along the way, but it sounds like he's coming back, and he's going to come back to the forefront of some type of enormous Bat family crossover.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. I think there's a whole generation, or at least a few years of readers that Tim Drake is just like, that's their guy. I mean, he was the Robin of the 90s. It's
kind of weird how he's just kind of fallen to the wayside. Obviously, Dick Grayson's been around essentially as long as Bruce Wayne. He came into existence almost at that time. Jason Todd takes on new significance because of the story is so emotional and what happened to Batman, or happened to him at the hands of Joker, and what effects on Batman and him coming back. Right now we got Damian Wayne, another character. It almost feels like Tim Drake's not chopped liver. He's got some very interesting things. He's the first one that ever discovered who Bruce Wayne was. He went to him and essentially offered to do the job to help him heal. And there's a lot of interesting things that you could do with Tim Drake. In a lot of ways, if you think about the understudies to Batman, I think, in my opinion, Dick Grayson is probably his own thing with Nightwing. There is no reason for him to transition back to being Batman.
Of course.
But if there's an heir to the throne, just as far as skill-wise, and mindset, temperament, Tim Drake is probably the character that's most ready to take over the mantle when it's necessary.
Yeah, I like Tim Drake. He's in a lot of really good stories. Even though he's not the like dominant force in it, I've recommended City of Crime. He's the Robin in that story, and he's great in it in the bits that he's takes part in. But yeah, he's had a very difficult time, and part of that is, Damian kind of derailing him and leaving.
He's still Red Robin, and Damian is Robin. Like,
yeah,
there's a little bit of ambiguity, and obviously Damian Wayne being the son is going to kind of rise up to the top.
Yeah, so yeah, he's had a rough go of it, but this is also part of the problem of when you create too many characters, you have a lot of redundant characters sitting around, and you don't know what to do with them. And that's sort of what we get. I think we've talked about this before. There shouldn't be, like, how is there a Bat family when, Bruce's whole thing is wanting to be alone and being this like lone Avenger of the Night who has a bigger family than anyone I know.
Yeah, he's got more sons than anybody. The only one of them's technically his.
Yeah,
you were mentioning, when you get too many characters, and that's one of my critiques of James Tynion. I know a lot of people are really excited that he's creating all these characters. Obviously, Punchline feels like a lot like Harley Quinn, kind of like a new age Harley Quinn. We know we're getting a new character. I don't know if this one is actually James Tynion, but there's like a female Riddler Joker mashup character that's coming up. She's even got the Riddler hat on. We've got Vengeance, which is a female version of Bane. We've got a new leader of the Court of Owls that I don't think has been named yet, a female character. There's like Talon's still here. I know technically Bane is supposed to be dead. We know he's not going to remain dead. And when he comes back, you're going to have duplicates of all these characters. So as exciting as it is now, it's probably going to cause, a few issues down the road. I don't know if James Tynion will have to deal with them and kind of fix it. Like, once you get too many versions of the same characters. That's why I think Miracle Molly is cool, because it doesn't feel like a derivative character of something that exists already.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, this is the problem. Like, for example, like the female leader of the Court of Owls and the female Bane. It's like, okay, once eventually James is off the book and you have someone else on it, or even someone else taking over, detective or anything else, and they want to use the original characters, they'll figure out a way to do it. And that's what keeps happening. Either editorial is like, all right, it's time to bring back the real Bane or that kind of stuff, or a writer or artist even with a lot of clout can come in and be like, I'm not doing Batman unless I get to use the real Bane. And then, that we get some Lazarus Pit shenanigans, and there we go.
Bane took one of the prisoners and loaded him up with venom to look like him and put the mask on, but it wasn't him the whole time. He was already out or something.
Yeah. So that's one of the problems here. And this isn't unique to James. This has existed for quite a number of years. Not forever. People act
like
this.
Go into the X-Men universe. There's duplicates of everybody. There's like 4 Wolverines.
Yeah. Well, you had characters like, Psylocke come about because Jean was gone, and then they brought back Jean. There's a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, it's not unique. However, you already can see where things are going, and you're like, oh, I know I'm going to be reading the return of the original Bane in 3 or 4 years, if that. And I think that's part of it that deflates some of these stories and the impact of them. Like once the wizard's been revealed behind the curtain, it's hard to, pull it back.
Absolutely. Speaking of X-Men, there's also a point in his newsletter where he's kind of comparing what he's doing with Batman to what Jonathan Hickman did with X-Men. I'm assuming he means House of X, Powers of 10, maybe the initial parts of Dawn of X. I don't get the comparison. Like, what is he? It doesn't feel like he's rebooted the Batman label like that. It didn't go back to a number 1. It doesn't feel like there's been a real status quo change. Like what do you think he meant by that?
It could be, we're going to look at, Gotham in a new light. Maybe it's going to be bringing Batman into a place in the Bat family, into a more morally gray area that they have to get themselves out of. It could be something like that.
Okay, so it's not apples to apples. It could be more metaphorical.
I would think. Yeah, I would think that's what's going on. Yeah.
I wasn't feel the parallel. Like, I don't know. I'm reading both. I don't quite see that. But James Tynion is as hot as there is in the comic book industry right now. And you mentioned a lot of people would trade places with him in an instant. He's got the sales on Batman. Terrific. Yeah. Batman is the best-selling ongoing typically in the industry, but he's got it back to where it was. Mm-hmm. But he's got the sales on Boom Studios. Maybe not quite Berserker level, because that's Keanu Reeves.
Sure.
But, Something is Killing the Children is after doing great. Supposedly it's been picked up for a TV series. He's got the Department of Truth. He's got Razor Blades. He's got everything going right now. Like I can't imagine anybody hotter right now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no advice, I think, that people could probably give him right now on the outside that would help. He's doing great. So, even if there's a few titles from him, like maybe you like one more than the other, or maybe like, I'm not reading Batman, but I'm reading Department of Truth or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's fine. He's doing great. So.
Oh, I forgot. He's got that Joker miniseries. I don't even know what the sales are on that, but I guarantee it's got to be over 100.
Oh yeah, no, Joker's doing fine, and it's still pretty low numbers in terms of like what they're up to. Like they're a couple issues or so in at this point. In. Yeah,
Art's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So he is kicking ass and taking names for everybody that's paid him right now. So congratulations, James Tynion. Exciting stuff for Batman. If you're a Tim Drake fan, it sounds like you got a big crossover Batman event where he's going to be in the spotlight. It's been a while.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it'll be very enticing for a lot of people. I know I'd be interested. I really like Tim Drake, and I don't understand how people haven't been able to use him properly. So, should be good.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.